So should the government be doing more to support the transition?
Do you want to have a go at the government, or shall I?
I mean, actually, I think there are things that they could do that aren't too radical. Or, one of them is it's around planning and legislation for public charging. So there is plenty of energy in our grid and our generating capacity to charge millions of electric cars. But it's that last, sometimes mile, sometimes 500 metres, sometimes 20 metres to get with the power that's over there, across that field, across that car park, around the edge of that building, to where you want to put the chargers. And there is some legislation that's being proposed that would make that process faster. So that's a government thing. Not to subsidise the chargers, that's a commercial operation. The companies that install the chargers, they're a commercial organ. They don't need funding. I'd be very opposed to that.
Successive governments have let kind of free market take over. And that's why in the UK we have a slight patchwork quilt of charging infrastructure. It's been left to business people who don't have the big whole picture in mind to kind of get on with it. So it's actually a lot better than people would have you believe, but there are obviously holes in it, there are pockets in it, and it is being invested in very, very heavily. The other thing I would say is that the 2030 signal, we're going to actually stop the sale of combustion engine cars from that point, is extremely useful. It's very, very helpful. But the loophole is that hybrids aren't banned until 2035, the new sales. So I would say if the government should do it, just absolutely carte blanche. It should just be pure electric cars from 2030. I actually think it's entirely moot. I think by 2028, no one will want to, people will disavow, except for classic car enthusiasts, most everyone else will disavow combustion engine, and they'll all experience the electric car in some form or shape or another by that point.
So you think even hybrid won't have a future at that point?
I mean, it is actually, I think strictly speaking, it's plug-in hybrids are still permissible after 2030. But why would you spend all that money on filling it with liquid fuel? You just go, I'm not going to do that. It's stupid. It's too expensive, and I have to go to the silly garage to get it.
And goodness knows what price it will be by then.
Yes. We can't imagine. It might be cheaper.
And you still don't get the same benefits out of the plug-in hybrid anyway. They've got more moving parts, so they go wrong more often. Very questionable in terms of emissions. I would argue that a pure electric vehicle is 10 times more fun to drive than a plug-in hybrid. So, really from our point of view, whereas it was a useful gateway drug, even as recently as 3 or 4 years ago, we just think now there's enough pure electric options just to go for it.
What's interesting for me walking around the show is the sheer amount of home chargers and business chargers that there are available. And I guess, that's bound to be the case. But once you've got your charger, you've got your charger. And is there anything new about them?
Well, there's a lot of them now. There's a lot of competition. It's something of a green rush or a gold rush to make the charging market work at home and elsewhere. In terms of home chargers, I walk around my street and I'm such an early adopter, but I still look at 19 out of 20 homes don't have one. So it's a huge market. Yeah. I think in terms of new developments, it's about smart charging. It's about charging off your solar PV. It's those sorts of things. Bringing the whole home energy system together. That's the advance you're going to see. It's
also, I think, again, I don't want to harp on about it too much, but the vehicle-to-grid experiments that are going on now, because there are vehicle-to-grid and vehicle-to-home chargers. There's over 100 in the country that are now just about to literally be controllable by the National Grid control room. So there'll be someone in the control room who can go, I'm going to draw a megawatt from these 100 cars. And they press a button, and that communicates with those chargers that are in your home, and it takes a kilowatt hour out of your car. So 4 miles range, which is extraordinary.
So I come out in the morning to do the school.
Well, you've got 4 miles left.
Sorry, boys, they took it overnight.
No, but they're not taking it all.
Mileage. Where are we going to school today?
That is the Daily Mail headline. The reality is it's 4 miles of your range, but also they'll take it at 6 o'clock in the evening when you're not using the car, and they'll replace it. It will recharge overnight. So when you get in the car, you will be able to take them to school with exactly the amount of battery.
You will have done a good thing.
And you will have got paid for that electricity.
Now, a lot of drivers miss a certain something. Do you think we'll ever go back in any way to having gears?
I think it's cute that there are people who still want gears, and I'm going to say probably mostly men. I don't know why I'm saying that, and I think it's fine. And I think there's got to be a manufacturer that will sell their cars because they have gears. You technically don't need them. If you think there are now electric cars on the road that can go from 0 to about 170 miles an hour on one gear, effectively. You kind of don't need it. But that said, I think it's perfectly acceptable for some people, because in every car chase movie, the person always goes "Kong," like that with a lever for no reason whatsoever. I've never driven a car that does that with petrol engines or whatever.
It's hardwired into some of us, I think. But I've tasted it. The new thing is better. I think a lot of people will come to that realization. Others will have their classic cars and they'll poodle around them. But I remember the choke in cars.
Yes.
You remember the choke?
The
Philip,
choke.
you're too young, I'm sure.
No, I do.
But who wants to go back to that?
I do
No one.
remember the choke.
Do you want to go back to your flip phone? Do you want to go back to your flip phone? There's a reason these things do better. Newer technology is invariably better. It just takes a little while to smooth out the process, and that's what we're going through now.
And we are nostalgic by nature.
Yes.
We really are, aren't
Yes.
we? We look back and see all the good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.